The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. If you'd like to give us a call, 1-877-528-8255. Now, that is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. Or you can send an email to xzone@talkstarradio.com on MSN Messenger, talkstarradio@hotmail.com. And our website's www.xzoneradio.com. And unfortunately, we're having technical problems tonight with www.xzonetv.com. It is not up and working, and we are hoping to have everything ready for Monday night, and I do apologize for that, my friends. Joining me this hour is a gentleman that I love talking to. His name is Pastor Harry Walther, and he is the man behind www.satansrapture.com. Pastor Harry has studied Bible prophecy, Nostradamus, the occult, and ancient civilizations for over 20 years. Pastor Harry has published 2 books, The Answer, 2 Raptures in 1986 and June 2006, 666, by the way, Antichrist Revealed, and founded www.satanraptures.com since September of 1997. Pastor Harry also studied the Bible Code since 1998 and found the next terror attack on America from May 2008. And this is a quote from Pastor Harry. I believe we are in the biblical end times, and between 2008 and 2012 AD, we will see the fulfillment of the Bible prophecy. Joining me tonight is Pastor Harry. Pastor Harry, how are you, good sir?
I'm okay, Rob. How are you?
Fine. Great having you with us tonight, Pastor. Last time you and I talked, we were talking about President-elect, not President-elect, presidential candidates. We were talking about presidential candidate Senator Obama and Senator Clinton, and we also talked about Senator McCain. But you also mentioned, Pastor, about an event in Philadelphia in May of 2008, and I was wondering if you have any more information for us tonight pertaining to the Bible Code and what you've been able to uncover.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. The first thing I'd like to talk about real quickly is that recent satellite shoot down by the United States Navy. You know, they blew up that spy satellite in space last week.
Yes.
And it was back in the first week of February when I saw that's when they said NASA was going to allow the space shuttle to hit the Earth. Remember, they were just going to allow it to impact Earth. And I was going through the Bible Code, to see if I could find, a city or a place where it could hit.
Mm-hmm.
Out of curiosity. So the first thing I did, the actual satellite was founded in the Bible Code. I actually found KH-12 satellite, NASA, that's the name of it, NASA, and Adar, which is the Hebrew month when it would crash between February 7th and March 8th. So it was in the code. And as I was looking through the code, I was putting in a lot of different cities and things. By the way, Toronto came up as a city. And then I saw my name, Harry Walther, in the Hebrew matrix. I said, well, this can't be encoded in the Bible code. Maybe it's not really there. You could see if you could read Hebrew in a Bible code matrix, you could see words, but it doesn't mean they're encoded. But sure enough, my name, Harry Walther, was encoded right with that satellite. And I put in house, and it said we'll crash. And I put in more words, like I put White House, orange roof. That's what we have. And then 60 yards from my house, there's a field with an orange construction barrier was put up, and sure enough, it said field and orange barrier. And I started thinking, this is crazy. And it seems like our neighborhood, our house could be around my house, could be the impact site, right? You know what I mean? It wasn't the code, but it was a very uneasy feeling, to see that. And then on Valentine's Day, I turned on the news, and they said President Bush ordered the satellite to be shot down by the U.S. Navy, right?
All right, stand by, Pastor. You and I have to take a 2-minute commercial break. Pastor Harry Walther, www.satansrapture.com. Good Pastor and I return on the other side of this 2-minute break, right here on Talkstar.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Pastor Harry's our special guest this hour, Exonation, www.satansrapture.com. Pastor, when you're deciphering the Bible code, what type of Bible do you use?
Well, you don't use the Bible. You actually use the Bible code programs. There's about 4 or 5 different companies from Israel that actually makes the computer software.
Oh, I see.
So it already has the 5 books of Moses, the Bible text in there. And it uses a sophisticated program to find these codes. But, because the codes exist, the Bible is computer encoded. And it was discovered in 1982 by an Israeli mathematician named Elijah Rips. And they just developed these programs that find these skip codes. It's basically a code that they take out all the spaces between letters in the Old Testament, the 5 books of Moses, and then say every 5 letters begins to form a phrase or a word or a sentence. And, it's pretty amazing that the Bible's encoded. And I think in itself it's a message from God because it shows us that, the Bible wasn't, the 5 books were not written by man. They were actually dictated to God, by God to Moses, as it says in the book of Exodus. Because, in the ancient world, Moses, they didn't know anything about, computers, electricity, EOS, code encryption, nothing. To them, the state-of-the-art technology was, a wheel and a candle.
Yeah.
So it just shows us that some super intelligence beyond anything we know, it could see the future, encoded the Bible. And really the Bible code sort of tells us the future through possibilities. Like if A happens and B happens, if America elected President Bush, then we would be on the President Bush code path, meaning codes pertaining to him would happen. And when I saw the first terror attack, 9/11, after the fact was encoded in the Bible code, I knew if there was another attack, it would be in the code, and the next attack is encoded. It doesn't mean it can't be stopped, but there is that code for Philadelphia for May of 2008 with this Ebola virus and a missile. And remember I told you when Miami, it says Miami secondary target, and I saw it was blacked out, and they still aren't saying what really caused it. Across the code of the Philadelphia code, it actually says darkness or blackness. So, it's possible, if Philadelphia was hit by a missile, and there'd be a lot of terror and panic, but to make it 10 times worse would be if they had a power failure. Can you imagine that? Like, we would be watching that city from our television sets away from the city, and not only is there this attack, but there would be a total blackout. Because they always talk about if the threat of a cyber attack, and that's what that Miami, that could have been a trial, like I said, that could have been a trial run, by terrorists to see if they could do this for May.
Are there any other cyber attacks or any other terrorist attacks that are mentioned in the Bible code for the year 2008?
The only major attack that I found for 2008 was the Philadelphia would be hit and Miami would be the secondary target, and the other thing was that Obama would be assassinated. He'd be taken out of the way, and I do believe that will happen. But the next code I did find, I found a code with a date, which is very rare. There is a code for September 29th, 2009, where there's supposedly going to be a great war with Israel against Israel, or Israel's going to be involved in a massive war. And then the code seems to take us to the year 2010. And that seems to be the year when the Antichrist will come. I know a lot of the world is focused on 2012, but the Bible code seems to point to 2010 in so many codes. And I've always said to myself, why does the year 2010 just, keep coming up in the Bible code with things, over and over and over? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people send me to our site different theories, and a lot of times people send theories, but their map's way off and all this. And there's been a theory of the Jubilee years, and I reworked that theory recently, and I really see something to it. It's very simple. It's back in the Old Testament, in the book of Leviticus. God enacted this system with the nation of Israel where for 49 years it would be life as usual, and on every 50th year was a Jubilee year. It was a year of celebration and helping the poor. Where they would go around, they would redistribute the wealth, they would help people in need. It was like the first real social program, and God said that would be for all generations. So when Israel was sacked in 70 AD and the Jews were driven from their homeland, they really couldn't practice the Jubilee year any longer. But it seems like that could be the system that God is using, to calculate to the end times, because there's some other verses that talk about 70 years are appointed to Israel. So if you take 70 years, of 50 years each, that's 3,500 years. And that would mean, and I did more calculation, and it seems in 1967, when Israel retook Jerusalem, was the 69th Jubilee year. That means we're in the final 70th Jubilee year right now, which will end in 2017. 1967 and 50s, 2017. It's very simple. And if you subtract 7 years for the Great Tribulation, again, you get 2010. So now I'm starting to wonder, is that why the year 2010 is in the Bible code so frequently? Because it could be the end of this 50 Jubilee years.
Now, tell me, Pastor, why is there so much turmoil? Why are there so many wars in the Middle East? Why can't people over there just get together and get along?
Well, the main reason that people can't get along is because, groups of very hateful, violent people take the Quran literally, and they believe that Allah wants them to, annihilate the Jews and recapture Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. The Muslim, if you take the Quran literally, the book does call for the conversion or destruction of all human life. through war. And a lot of people don't take the Quran literally; they take it in spiritual terms. But for whatever reason, terrorist groups, they take the Quran literally, and they believe, that they must destroy Israel. When Israel was reborn again, through the help of the United States and England and the newly formed United Nations, it was really, you could say that the powers that be almost set Israel up for this, for this great clash with Islam, and because we're so dependent on oil, it makes the Mideast, important to everyone. If the whole world was on solar power, it wouldn't be such a thing. But because we're so dependent on oil, and right smack in the middle of the Mideast is this growing war with Israel. Mm-hmm. Iran wants to annihilate Israel, and they're working to develop nuclear weapons. They're arming, Hamas and Hezbollah to attack Israel. Israel's getting hit with rocket attacks, every day for the last 3 months, and they're getting ready to launch a major attack. And I wonder if this major attack would coincide, with May 2008. It's just amazing that people just can't just get. We hear the saying, "Can't you just get along?" But it's amazing that people just can't. They can't get it at this point in time. That if they just can't learn to the simple, basic thing of sharing rather than total destruction. But that's it seems like that within people is a destructive nature, like a self-destructive nature that we could overcome it, but I think it's overcoming mankind.
A number of people don't realize that there are so many similarities between the Quran and the Muslims' faith and Christianity. For example, they both recognize the archangel Gabriel. There's a mention of Christ, and it's not as if they're two totally different books. In fact, all philosophies, religious and otherwise, talk about peace and being one. That doesn't mean that you have to annihilate everyone else to have your own way.
Well, that's very true, but that's that's how people interpret. A lot of people interpret the Quran, and it's causing great trouble in the world between them, those and Israel. And then there's other destructive philosophies in the world too, like Nazism, and then the Nation of Islam, the Black Muslim movement. Remember the Prophet Yahweh, and his vision was to that a black Messiah will come to Earth in a spaceship, and he'll enslave and kill the white race. So I mean, there's so many doctrines of death and destruction. When they become empowered, that this is the result. Innocent people just get caught up and killed in this madness. It is total madness. You're right, but when you look at the Quran, you look at the Muslim faith, you look at Israel, the ancient Jewish faith, they both believe Abraham was the patriarch.
That's right.
Abraham had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, and one became the Arab races and one became the Jewish races. Yet they want to annihilate the other.
Well, that's what happened in the book of Genesis between Cain and Abel.
Yeah, yes, it's true. And, I did find some real evidence, in the Bible code, speaking of that, that Cain, his spirit, his soul, whatever he is, will return as the Antichrist. And that is actually even in the Bible code, with the beast, he's encoded with Cain. So, I mean, imagine that, the world's first murderer returns as the world's greatest mass murderer.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. I don't mean the physical person, but
sure.
But his soul could return. So and then I also had a theory that possibly his soul could have returned a few times. I'm not talking reincarnation. I'm just talking about a wicked soul keeps being placed in human bodies to do these highly destructive acts. Like Hitler, and you wonder what motivates these people. Motivated Cain, the first murderer, was jealousy. So it's just an interesting thing about Cain. But when we talk about the Bible code, I'll give you an example of something.
Sure.
I know a lot of your show, and a lot of guests and all, you talk a lot about extraterrestrials, and the possibility of life on other worlds and all.
Yes.
Well, the Bible code clearly talks about the Antichrist coming in a UFO,
Really?
A UFO arrival in Jerusalem, and I found the word spaceship encoded 17,612 times in the Bible code. That means there's a potential 17,000 codes of information dealing with spaceships. I found the planet Mars 8,500 times in the Bible code. You wonder, why would the planet Mars, even be in a Bible code? I found, a lot of people talk about, Planet X, the comet planet Nibiru. It's supposed to come around 2012 or start to pass Earth, and it could cause great destruction. You would think that wouldn't even be in a Bible code or one time. The planet Nibiru is actually in the Bible code like 8,300 times. And so, you could I could spend 1,000 years just trying to decipher, all these possible, Nibiru codes. But it's just amazing how all of these things from the ancient world are all in the Bible code.
Pastor Harry's our special guest, www.satansrapture.com. We're discussing what his findings have been in the Bible code. So what does the Bible code tell us about our future? Does the Bible code say that, guys, you're heading into doom and gloom? Get ready for the big ending?
Well, the Bible code seems to take us up to the biblical tribulation. And I think that's its purpose, and it stops it. I think that's where the book of Revelation is found in every Bible around the planet kicks in. I think it's like a guide to get us to that book. And then the book takes over. That's what I sort of see. But, the Bible does speak, the Bible text speaks about it actually speaks about two raptures, but it talks about a rapture escape from what's to come. The Bible does teach that, that Jesus' true followers, however few there are in the world, there's not many, but that they'll one day be, raptured into heaven, just vanish or just disappear in the thin air, and then that will pave the way for the coming of Antichrist and would be blamed on alien abduction. So, according to the Bible, Jesus said to be prepared, not scared. The Bible sort of says we can escape, what's coming. But it really doesn't say that it could be prevented. And then if you turn the Bible inside out and upside down, you have a lot of these, occult and these, beliefs from, like I said, some of these stronger satanic beliefs, and they believe that their Savior will come and set up a kingdom of God on earth for 3,000 years. So the Bible says the Antichrist gets 3.5 years. That's a big difference between 3,000 years and 3.5 years. But it does seem like we're headed to a place where this world figure will come, this great world teacher, and depending on, like I said, who he is going to be heaven or hell on the earth.
When we come back from the commercial break, Pastor, I'd like you to answer the following question: is there any connection between the quatrains of Nostradamus and the Bible code? What you're finding out. Pastor Harry's our special guest. 1-877-528-8255 is toll free. My name is Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network. Still to come on tonight's show, we have in the next hour the one and only Elizabeth Joyce. She's going to be doing psychic readings for one and all who give us a call at 1-877-528-8255. That's toll free at 1-877-528-8255. And then Glenn Kimball is going to be joining me tonight. We're going to be talking about the Quran, amongst other things. And that's tonight here on the X Zone. After all, this is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. And then the show is repeated in its entirety from 2 a.m. until 6 a.m. My name's Rob McConnell, and this is the X Zone. Pastor Harry and I will be back after this commercial break right here on Talkstar.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
All right, so you're going through the Bible code, and you're seeing so many similarities. You saw your name, and then you saw the area next to your house in the Bible code. And how did you feel?
Well, it was a very uneasy feeling because, I've studied the code for like 10 years, and it's just a very uneasy feeling. I didn't like it, and I just figured, well, we made up a quick evacuation plan. We were watching news, and they were supposed to have given information like a day before. They were supposed to know a lot more when it could hit, and I just said, well, if this thing was going to hit anywhere near New York State, we were just going to just have our car ready, packed up with our most important things, and just leave for the day. You know what I'm saying? And then so it was a very uneasy feeling. When it said Toronto, we're in New York State, so that could even have been like the path it could have came. And then what happened was Valentine's Day, President Bush ordered that the U.S. Navy will blow up the satellite in space, to protect, potential, crash to a population center. Mm-hmm. I said, wow, that's really good. And I went to the code, and sure enough, in the same code, I found President saves house, Navy, missile, and the name Bush 22 times all across that code. I mean, it was pretty amazing to see that,
Now, when you read the code, Pastor, does it change, or is it always the same reading that you'll get from it?
Well, it's always the same reading for a matrix, but I can always find more information in it, like I did with Bush and the Navy and the President and missile. So sometimes you just find new information encoded there, whether it's other words or a sentence or something. But even the odds that could be just accidentally encoded is probably about, I don't know, maybe 50,000 to 1 against just that one occurrence happening. And that just makes what could happen in May, even more believable because, the next terror attack is encoded in the Bible code for the city of Philadelphia for May 2008, and it says Miami secondary target, contamination and panic. We saw the other day when they shut down the nuclear power plant in Miami, and there was a total blackout, and it's all a big mystery over what happened. When I saw that, I was saying to myself, I was wondering, could this be a trial run by cyber terrorists? They could have been practicing, because it's possible they could do that to Philadelphia and Miami if they hit it with this Ebola virus. The code says they're going to use a missile, fired like a surface air missile with a warhead with the Ebola virus.
Mm-hmm. I thought of you the earlier today and yesterday when the Los Angeles Police Department found a substance that they thought was a container of ricin, where a pinhead, where the amount of this substance on a pinhead would be enough to kill someone.
Well, that's right. So think what a missile could do that has the Ebola virus. But it's not so much what the missile would do, it's that the Bible code so clearly says in this terror attack, it actually says CIA blames Iran evildoer and Bush great war, annihilation and destruction Iran. So it seems like that if this attack happens, Iran's going to be blamed for being behind it, and then President Bush is going to ultimately destroy Iran. And I talked to a terrorism expert, I would say, and the whole thing with that happens, it comes down to if there's a lot of terrorist cells throughout the United States, Canada, Europe, they could just, unleash everything they have, and that could probably trigger World War III and the start of a tribulation, this year. But if Bush hits Iran, if there isn't this massive, amount of terrorist cells, then we could still go on to say 2010 or 2012 AD, which seems to be, major dates in the Bible code, as well as, in the world in general. The common, occult or New Age thought is in 2012 AD. It could be this great world teacher supposed to come, and if the world follows him, there'll be peace, and if they don't, there'll be great destruction. I'm sure you've had a lot of guests talk about that, And all of these events and everything people talk about, everything is in the Bible code. Even 2012, the year 2012 is in the Bible code with comet, and it says crash Earth, and then there's another phrase that says, I will shatter, annihilate, meaning the comet won't destroy the Earth. So there's so many, there's so much information in that Bible code about, future events. Like I said, all 5 of the presidential candidates up to 3 weeks ago were in the Bible code.
Now, what new information do you have for us, Pastor, about the information on the presidential candidates in the Bible code?
Well, it's interesting because the name John McCain is found in the Bible code with not president and heart problems. So it seems like something's going to happen where he's either going to have to drop out of the election or a heart problem will clinch his defeat because he's old to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Mike Huckabee's in the Bible code is a very unfavorable code because he's encoded with proud and wicked and pastor death. And people could wonder, well, why would he be encoded with death and pastor or pastor death? Because, when he was governor of Arkansas, he boasts and brags that he signed 19 death warrants, for capital punishment. And he was using that as part of his campaign to be, tough on crime. But for a pastor to sign death warrants, to me, is insanity. You would think somebody who represents God or cares, things of God or Christianity would be for life.
Yes.
So he has a pretty unfavorable code. He's an unfavorable person, in my opinion. And then Mitt Romney's in the Bible code with president. It's very interesting because he's in there with substitute and replacement. So it's possible something could happen to John McCain, and he could step back into the election again. And then back to Barack Obama. He's encoded with assassination in 2 different Bible codes. And 1 month was for the Hebrew month of Adar, which is February 7th to March 8th, so that window's closing. But the other window for his assassination is in Tishri, which is mid-September to mid-October. And right in there with Tishri, it says he will die. And it talks about panic because the Democratic Party would be thrown into a panic if if he becomes a candidate and he is assassinated. And then I saw on the news 3 days ago, Rob, that they said that they actually said Barack Obama is at a high security risk. So it's almost like, I don't know who's following the code or what. And, Hillary Clinton is encoded with president, and it says, and with Hillary Rodham's encoded with president, the year 2010, and accepts, welcomes, honors the beast, the Antichrist. So it really seems that between the year 2010 and 2012, the Bible code is telling us that, this will be the end as we know it. It'll be this period the Bible calls the Great Tribulation.
With all that's going on in the world today, Pastor, there's a lot of tribulation, not to the magnitude that the biblical tribulation is foretelling. But is there anything we can do to avert the tribulation that has been so graphically designed and so graphically described in the book of Revelations?
I don't think there's anything we can do to stop what's to come. I mean, there is many conspiracy theories and things, but there is a secret society. There is a group of extremely wealthy people, loosely called the Illuminati, that are working in this world within governments to bring forth, a one world government and the coming of their leader, who's the Antichrist. So it's a question of I don't think that this could be averted at all. I mean, hypothetically, the only way this could be averted if this world teacher, this Antichrist, his avatar comes, and he would turn out to be a good guy. if he's a good guy and the Bible was wrong, he could stop a lot of the things, say that were to happen. But, it seems like this world figure is going to come. The ancient Mayans said 2012 A.D., and again, depending upon who he is would determine what's going to happen.
But what would happen, Pastor, if an organization deep within the Vatican were to find out who the Antichrist actually was, and they were to eliminate him as a threat? Would that not turn the hands of fate?
Theoretically, theoretically it could, but then again, the Vatican may be working, towards bringing him onto the world scene, be thinking that he's the savior. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of strong evidence that they are doing that. But these are all possibilities. But again, I don't think that I don't think that this could be stopped. If it really is the plan of God, I don't think it could be stopped. That's just my opinion. But it's more likely that the Vatican would be deceived by this person, thinking that he is the real savior, because he would unite the world together, all the religions as one, and people would think that this is something very, very good. It's very good. The platform of the Antichrist, I've studied it in depth. When he talks about, that he wants to end all war, disease, human suffering, poverty. These are great things. It sounds really great. But if, as the plan unfolds, he plans to do these things, in connection with the destruction of the Judeo-Christian religion and everything that's called, from the God of the Bible.
Right.
So then a good thing then becomes a bad thing.
Pastor, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take a commercial break with the news at the bottom of the hour. Pastor Harry Walther is our special guest. His website is www.satansrapture.com. Still to come on tonight's show, my next guest is going to be Elizabeth Joyce. We're going to be doing psychic readings. And in our final hour, another good friend of the X-Zone, Glenn Kimball, is going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about the Quran and much more. 1-877-528-8255 is toll free. My name is Rob McConnell. And Pastor Harry and I will return on the other side of the news as the X-Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
18 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Pastor Harry's website is www.satansrapture.com. So before we went to the break, Pastor, I asked you if there was any coding in the Bible that pertained to, and I forgot what I asked you.
Oh, about Nostradamus.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, there is. A lot of the events that Nostradamus predicts are also found in the Bible code.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing, and that brings us back again, to this May 2008 attack. One of the main prophecies of Nostradamus that all people that study Nostradamus and all Nostradamus scholars agree on is that there's a person who will come called named Mabus, M-A-B-U-S, who Nostradamus calls the third Antichrist, meaning he viewed Napoleon as the first Antichrist and Hitler as the second Antichrist, someone that starts great wars. And somehow this Mabus will start a great war through some type of terrorism, maybe nuclear or biological, and he'll trigger World War III and great suffering, and misery in the world. And we have, the Mabus could be an anagram for President Bush in Iran, because if you take, the leader of Iran that's dead bent on, building a nuclear weapon and destroying Israel, and that's his own words, that Israel should be wiped off the map, is named Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. So if you take the first two letters of his name, M-A, and you add Bush from President Bush, you get Mabus. And it's possible that Nostradamus saw, because he was really against all war and politicians and things like that, he could have viewed President Bush and Iran as the two leaders or parties that are going to be responsible, for World War III. And that's really exactly what that Bible code is telling us. So there'll be this terror attack on Philadelphia, that Iran will be blamed, there's your May, and then Bush will utterly destroy Iran, and probably it could even lead to a nuclear holocaust. So that could have been what Nostradamus meant right there about Mabus. And the interesting thing is, in the Mabus prophecy, a comet will make a near pass of Earth, and then, Mabus will launch his attack. And sure enough, on May 4th of this year, right in with that Bible code, there's this very bright comet going to pass Earth. I think it's called 2003/YN107. So that gives more credence. It's very possible that Bible code attack in May 2008 is exactly what Nostradamus predicted. That's just one example where the two could overlap. Nostradamus also talked about in the same time frame about a great war being prepared in the West to be unleashed on the East the following year. Well, the Pentagon announced in 2007, last September, that they have plans to annihilate Iran, to hit Iran with over 700 targets in 48 hours to take out their entire nuclear program, their military, their infrastructure, everything. And again, that could be the great war that was planned in 2007 to be released upon Iran in 2008. So it's very possible that Mabus is, Iran and President Bush. There's a lot of people hear that. They believe that instantly,
Yeah. Pastor, you and I have to say so long for now, but I'd love to have you back on to further discuss your findings using the Bible code.
Oh, thank you. And what I'm going to start working on, time permitting, is this UFO connection with the Bible code and Mars, and we'll see what's really
Sounds
in there.
Great. Pastor, take care of yourself, and thanks for joining us tonight, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. God bless.
Take care, Pastor. www.satansrapture.com. When I come back from the news, Elizabeth Joyce is with me doing psychic readings for one and all who give us a call at 1-877-528-8255. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, and we're coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network. Don't go away. We'll be back after the news.